I don't even know how to start this video, so we're just gonna start the video. Life update: I am engaged. It is so funny thinking about this because, gosh, 4 or 5 years ago I made a video about all the things that I thought I would have by 25, but I didn't. And I think like a relationship or like marriage was on that list. And I turned 30 this year, and so having hindsight, it just feels like God's timing really is top tier. Like you just gotta stop thinking about it and trust the process. And it feels so cliche to say that, but yeah. But I wanted to talk about just kind of like dating, marriage, and like my perspective on these things. I don't want this to be super edited because I don't really have time to be editing videos anymore. So we're just gonna jump straight into it because I feel like the discussion around marriage and dating is a lot different than what I think in my head. So this might be a little like controversial or unpopular, but who cares? So I met my partner in high school, so I've known him for a long time. And the way we went about our relationship, I feel like, is not very common. And so let's talk about it. I kept in touch with him occasionally from like high school graduation up until like 3 years ago, maybe once or twice a year, happy birthdays, that type of stuff, social media, like the typical way people keep in touch in like modern day with social media. And I feel like it was like maybe 3 years ago we started to keep in touch a little bit more intentionally. And it was basically just like the pre-dating phase was just us chopping it up and like learning about each other again as adults. And it became very clear to me that I liked him. So another thing that I started to do when I was getting to know him more so like as who he was now and not just like who I knew him as in high school, when I realized I had feelings, I was like, I'm gonna start asking him about like his dating life, or like his perspective on marriage and kids and religion, like all the things that I feel like are relevant before even getting into a committed relationship with someone, especially if your goal is to be married to someone. And I feel like that's something that doesn't happen very much in modern dating. We just kind of like somebody, we talk to them for a few weeks, and then we jump into a committed relationship, and then we start thinking about marriage and kids and religion and like all the things that are kind of foundational to a lifelong partnership with someone. And once it was kind of clear that we were on the same page with a lot of things, that's when I was willing to pursue like actual committed relationship with him. And then I feel like the actual dating period, since we knew what we wanted, like we knew marriage was the end goal, it wasn't a like drastic thought process, or I don't know if that's the right way I want to describe it. It didn't take long for us to like know like, hey, let's start getting prepared for like getting engaged and like getting married one day. Like that didn't take very long into the relationship, but also we had that foundation of like getting to know each other for months prior to even being in a committed relationship, plus that added foundation of like having known each other for a decade. So I will acknowledge that like our relationship is different in that aspect. And I'm really like grateful for that foundation because it just made everything else a little bit easier to handle, because it's like if we don't end up in a committed relationship, we're still friends regardless, so who cares if we're not compatible, if that makes sense. And so when we were actually dating, it was less about like, oh, do you want to get married one day, because we already knew that was the goal. It was more so about just experiencing life together, because there's only so much you can get to know about someone through asking them questions, and there's a lot that you get to learn about somebody by experiencing life with them. When we started dating, I was preparing to apply to physical therapy school, so he got to see how I handle stress and being sad and angry. He got to see all the things, and I got to see how he handled life. So whether he was happy, sad, frustrated, like I got to see those sides of him and vice versa, and just learning how to support one another through that. And I feel like that's something only time can do for you, which is why I really like the pacing of how our relationship has been, because we've had a good like year and a half of experiencing life, especially with me and all the transitions that I was going through, from applying to physical therapy school, now getting into physical therapy school, being like a year into physical therapy school. It has been wonderful to just see how we handle life together. And it's kind of funny like being engaged now, because people ask like, oh, how does it feel? And to me, it feels normal. Like I don't know how to, like, I don't feel any different because I'm engaged. I feel like now I'm just in a new phase of the intention of the relationship, whereas like pre-committed relationship, it was getting to know each other again as people, as adults. Committed relationship phase was like, okay, now we're doing life together. And now the engagement phase is like, okay, now we're preparing for marriage. And of course, we're still in a committed relationship, so those phases still overlap. We're still learning how to do life together, and now we're just learning how to do life together and preparing for marriage. And ironically, I used to think, is it ironic? I don't even know if it's ironic. I used to think that the engagement period was just to be able to plan the wedding, and now I'm of the understanding or the opinion that the engagement period is about preparing for the marriage more so than like a wedding. I honestly don't even want like a full like fancy wedding, like let's go to the courthouse. Okay, like I'm not really into that, because times is hard out here, this economy. Let's put that money on a house, okay? But that's neither here nor there. I forgot what I was saying. What was I saying, guys? Rewind it and then let me know what I was saying. Oh, preparing for marriage. Thank you. So instead of focusing on preparing for a wedding, I feel like this is the time to prepare for a marriage. And that entails things like, okay, how do we want to do our finances when we get married? Do we want to have separate bank accounts, joint bank accounts? Taxes, are we filing together, separately? Like the nuances of marriage, I feel like this is a great time to explore those. And of course, like we do want to do like premarital counseling, getting to know like the ins and outs, or like the things that like we just don't think of when it comes to marriage until you get married. Just working through all of that and like talking with each other on how we want to handle those things when the time comes. And in the meantime, we're still best friends, and we're still doing life together, and we're still in a committed relationship. It's just like being a little bit more intentional about being in the proper mindset to handle what's gonna come with marriage. And I have a hot take, because there are things that I don't personally agree with when it comes to the engagement period that I know a lot of couples do, and this is not to like it's not a condemnation, it's not to say that you're wrong, but I strictly do not believe in living with a partner until you're married. And I know it's a common perception amongst people, like, oh, well, before we get married, we have to see how we work together in the same house. Like, if we're not compatible living together, if we don't mesh well when we're living together, then like the marriage isn't going to work. And I find that to be such a telling perspective on how people view marriage. To me, it means that a couple either doesn't view marriage with the weight that marriage truly holds, or the maturity level, or the understanding of how hard marriage is hasn't really set in for them. Because to me, if something as trivial as like, oh, we have different living styles, like, I just can't, that is so, I don't know, like, even saying it sounds so childish to me. Like, when you're an adult and you know how to communicate with someone, and you're also dating an adult who knows how to communicate, the thought of not wanting to marry somebody because they keep leaving their shoes on the floor and I want them to put them in the closet is like, please tell me there's more to life than like getting along in the house. Like, there's gonna be so many more hard things to go through in marriage. So if you can't figure out how to compromise to live together, then like you don't need to be married. So I feel like that's like not a non-issue for me. Yes, it might be annoying, it might be frustrating, but that's not something worth not getting married over or ending a marriage over, if you get what I'm saying. So with that said, the engagement phase, like getting to know, like, okay, how do you like to do your dishes? How do you like to do your laundry? Like, are you type A? Are you type B? Like the little things, like the cute little trivial things, like how are we gonna like tag team when it comes to house chores? Or what's the plan with having kids? Like, are you gonna be like, do you want to be more hands on with certain aspects? Do you want to be more like lenient with this, more strict with it? Like, just different things that are going to happen in marriage, and a lot of things you don't even need to talk about until they happen, because you just don't know how to prepare for it until it happens. But I don't know, that's my perspective on the engagement period, and also just the gravity of marriage, like understanding how I don't know how mature of a process and experience it is, makes the little things not really like stressful, if that makes sense. So yeah, this is just a quick little life update and how I think of marriage and preparing for marriage. I'm not really going to be sharing much about the process, but this was just a really relevant life update that I wanted to talk about. But yeah, like when people say, how does it feel to be engaged? I'm like, I don't know, it feels normal, because like it just, my companionship with my partner is just such a normal part of my life. I don't feel like I've leveled up in my relationship and we're like on a new level of closeness. I feel like I'm just in a new phase of intentionality with my relationship, and we're just going to continue to grow and get closer regardless. There's going to be good times, there's going to be hard times, it's going to be easy times, there's going to be fun times, there's going to be some not so fun times. Like, I just feel very practical about all of this. Also, there's a lot of things that me and my fiance did that are just not very common. I picked out my ring. I knew what week, like when he was going to be proposing. I didn't know how he was going to do it, but I knew when he was going to do it. Like, we took the time to like save up for our rings, and then we purchased our rings, and then he got my parents' like blessing to propose, which I know is a hot take. Like a lot of people think that that's so patriarchal. Yes, it's so patriarchal, and women are not property. And I feel like when you have to have a certain like perspective on life to understand the importance of like the asking of the blessing. I'm a Christian, if you couldn't tell by now, but I think something that gets missed when it comes to the asking of the blessing for marriage is the fact that it's not just about like, can I be with your daughter? It's understanding that you as the daughter are going from one covering to another. Right now I am under the financial and physical and technically spiritual covering of my parents. I live in their house. They help me with my finances. They support me with like anything and everything in my life right now. And when I get married, my covering will become my husband. And that's just like spiritually the like foundation and like a life perspective that I believe in as a Christian. So asking your partner, asking for your blessing is more than just like, oh, can I have your daughter? It's like, no, do you trust me to take over the covering of your daughter? And there's been so many signs and like things that happened with me and my partner that I feel like, wow, like there's been times where he said things to me that my parents say to me all the time. And just like the love and support that he has for me reminds me so much of the love and support of my family and like the people who currently cover me. And like, it's just so wonderful. And like the favor that I've noticed in different ways with like my relationship has made me feel really good about progressing towards marriage. For example, when he was going to be asking my parents for their blessing, me and my mom were worried about my stepdad because I'm his princess, okay? Like, I'm his golden child. He is very protective over me. So my mom didn't think he was going to handle my partner asking for his blessing very well. But when it came down to it, he was like so happy and supportive. And my mom, she texted me after it happened. She was like, girl, I thought hell was gonna freeze over. That went better than I expected. And I was like, me too. So just like the little things like that, like how he supports me and like reminds me of the support and love that my parents have for me. And then just even the support from my family and my stepdad in particular. It just feels like, okay, yeah, like this is someone that I want to be with, and this is something that I feel like is approved. Like, it's not only by like my parents but by God. A lot of times also I feel like we over spiritualize, not over spiritualize, I feel like sometimes there's just a lot of pressure on like knowing if you're with the one. And because there are people who say, oh, God told me this is my spouse. And that was something I battled with a lot, was like, oh my God, like, is God supposed to tell me directly? Like, is an angel supposed to come from heaven and like stand in my bedroom and be like, be not afraid, that's your husband, and dip? Like, what's gonna happen? And I think it's just realizing the things around you, especially like familiar support, like your family. How are you as a person? Is your health declining? Are you improving as a person? Do you feel supported? Are they dragging you away from God, or are they trying to get closer to God with you? Like, all of those things can tell you how God feels about a relationship. And so I think in my circumstance, all of the little things like the favor from my parents and the support, the unprovoked support, and things that he would say that he has no clue. Like, he said things to me that verbatim my parents have said to me, and I would just like be in awe. like, oh my god, like that's so crazy, you actually love me. Like just little things like that have like kind of shown me like, okay, yeah, this is a great man. So yeah, life update, I'm engaged. Like I said, I'm not really gonna talk a lot about my relationship on here, or like the marriage process or all of that, but I just felt like this is a very valuable conversation to have just because of the times we live in, and I've shared so much of my life anyway. Like, why not talk about this too? And just like also just to look back to like see me as 29 versus me at 24 and how I thought like life and marriage and relationships were gonna go. It's just like wonderful to be able to like see the difference. But yeah, I have to go study now, so I will see you guys later.